I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Herzl.
Here.
Dalton. Here. DeYoung.
Here.
Martin. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Warren. Baxter.
Here. There is a agenda for tonight's meeting. We have new business, and then we're going to have open the meeting to public participation, and then we'll adjourn the meeting after our interviews. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dalton Akers, second by Herzl. Roll call vote, please.
Herzl.
Yes.
Dalton.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Martin. Yes. Phillips.
Yes.
Baxter.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to new business. Item number 1, superintendent interviews. 3 candidates will be interviewed tonight. From 6 until approximately 7 p.m., Mr. Joseph Allen, principal of South Haven Public Schools, will be joining us.
Feel like we should clap.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To the community members out there, thank you for showing up tonight. The board members here tonight make the same amount of money you do for sitting there. So we're just weighted with the decision at the end of this process. So thank you for joining us. There is feedback forms available on the table tonight, backed by our consultant, Mr. Pat Krieger. After every interview, I would suggest and encourage you to fill out a feedback form about the candidate you just saw. At the end of the night, those will be turned into Mr. Krieger, and we'll compile them and use that as feedback. Because at the end of the day, the Board of Education is going to make a decision of our new superintendent, but we want to hear from you, and we appreciate you being here tonight to help us do that. Now let's proceed on to the interview with Mr. Joe Allen. Mr. Allen, thank you for being with us tonight. We've had an opportunity to review your resume, and you're here because of it. So we'd like to hear what else you have to say. Each one of my board members will be asking a question or two tonight, and we'll work it through that way.
Good enough.
Currently you're a principal at South Haven.
I was a teacher. I was on grade math, and I usually taught whatever. Dealing with parents and I feel like
I appreciate that. Our next question is going to come to you from our Vice President, Mr. Joe DeYoung.
What are the important issues in creating a good board-superintendent relationship, and how do you facilitate such a relationship? How will you communicate with this board?
you talked about facilitating our relationship. Well, first of all, you gotta make a decision that's good for Gobles and the kids of this community. So you're going to be doing that in the next 3 nights. Well, I'm sorry, tonight and Thursday. You're going to have to make some decisions based on a weekly basis is really going to help you keep me accountable and doing what you guys have asked me to do in your district. So how am I going to communicate with you folks? I'm going to give you a weekly email on Friday. Whether you read it or not, I'll leave that up to you, but I am going to keep you in tune as to what's going on in the district so that you don't get blindsided. On the other side of that, I also expect my administrative staff to not let me get blindsided either. So I'm going to trust them to keep me in tune as to what's going on. And as long as I can communicate with you on a weekly basis, good or bad, give and take, I think that's going to be a big part of my role to earn your trust and to let you know that I'm keeping an eye on what's going on in the district. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Secretary Martin with a question.
Tell us what budget development process you use or would use, and how the process works to gain broad support for the final result.
Okay. Yeah, budget development, I'm going to tell you right now, I know that's probably one of my weaker points compared to the rest of your candidates. I looked at your list of candidates and it looks fantastic. In terms of budgets, I've developed that at the building level, $1, $2, $3 million budgets. The first thing I do is I keep kids in mind. If we're going to build a budget, it's got to be for the good of the kids. And obviously, that means people. We got to have staff here. So I'm going to build a budget that's based on keeping kids in school, getting them educated, giving them all the tools that they need. And who do I get involved with that? It's got to be my teacher leaders. It's got to be my employee group leaders. And we're going to build a budget that is good for this district. I want to take care of people. I want them to make as much money as they can, but we also got to be good stewards of our bank account. So we have to keep an eye on that. Really, I don't think I put this in my resume, but one of my probably where I learned most of my budgeting work was when I owned an oil change in South Haven. I was a business owner, and when I bought it, it was yielding about $150,000 a year. And after 2.5 years, I was well over $250,000. And that was just me being present, being visible, keeping an eye on the product, knowing what was going on in the building. And I think that's going to be huge when you build a budget at the district level. I'm not an office sitter. I don't stay at my desk 7 hours a day. I will be out. I'll be moving. I'll see what's going on. Hopefully, when we sit down and build a budget, I will know what my leaders are talking about when they need something.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next, we'll move on to Treasurer Susan Dalton Akers with a question.
So, good segue into this question. Tell us how you maintain visibility and accessibility for staff, parents, and community groups. So you already mentioned some of that.
I did. I just have to be present. I know there's times where I've got to close the door and get some work done, especially when I may be the only one in central office. But I am that principal who takes a card out and I work outside classroom doors, and that is not to spy on teachers, I'll tell you that right now. It's when I need to make sure that I just see kids in the hallways. That's when I get to see kids. So at my last job, I worked the lunch counter every day so I could touch base with kids. I think that's huge. When I sit down with someone and I have a difficult conversation, it's because I have been able to see them work. I've been able to see what they're doing. It won't be my first encounter with them. So I'm out, I'm about, I'm moving. I don't know if that answered your question very well.
Community groups.
Yeah. I have to make myself accessible. I need to be at games. Not only do I love going to games and choir concerts and band concerts and things like that, it's a great place for people to get a hold of me and just lend an ear. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Next, we're up to Trustee Phillips.
Do you have any experience with alternative funding sources?
I think you know my answer. As a principal, you don't get a lot of work doing that. But I do know that you guys have a virtual academy that you guys are implementing here. I know a little bit about Berrien Springs where they have put that into work, and they've got satellite campuses, and that brings in some extra funding for them. Basically, if we are taking care of kids and we can be educating them, that's going to be our main funding source. You know, all the grants and federal, local taxes and things like that. But no, I don't have the golden nugget. I'm sorry.
You know, as a principal, that was understandable
Yes.
in that situation. Appreciate that. Next question, we move on to trustee Justin Berza.
Hey, how's it going? So,
Thanks.
how do you take the pulse of your present community? So in school, how are you keeping your thumb on the pulse of what's going on in both the school and the community?
Are you talking in my school right now? What am I doing right now?
Yep.
Again, I'm visible. I'm at Saturday morning Little Rams basketball. I'm in the car lines every day. It's a great place to meet parents. In the morning, I greet kids at the door. I'm waving cars forward. You know, I have 30-second conversations with parents, and that gets you so much. I do know a lot of them in the community. I've been there for 23 years, so I do know some people. I do have some kids who I've had their parents as students. And so I think when you spend a good amount of time in a community, you earn that trust, and you just kind of melt into the community and you get to know people. So again, I just make myself available.
Great. Everybody caught up on their writing? I don't know if you've ever been through an interview like this. You know, we're kind of first timers, so don't take us doing this as bad.
No,
You know,
no, not at all.
We're here,
Not at
so,
all.
you know, just write down the positive comments. That's what we want to talk about, positive comments. Question number 6. How would you support building administrators and also be supportive of teachers? As you know, in your position, you run into difficult situations where you kind of need support both sides. How do you do that? How would you do that?
I think, you know, having a good working relationship with my building leaders and letting them know my expectations is going to play a huge part. I'm going to support teachers to the best of my ability. They just can't leave me to hang out to dry. In other words, if they come to me with a problem, I want to know that it really is a problem, and I'm going to support them the best I can. If they are doing everything they can and if they need something that I can help them with, I'm going to do that. If they can go to their building leader and do that, I will ask them to do that. There is a chain of command that I expect them to follow. And so it's simply got to be an open door policy where they feel comfortable coming to their building leader. And if they need to, they can come to me.
Yeah, that's the chain of command, so appreciate that. Everybody good? We'll continue on. We got lots more fun questions.
I'm ready. I am ready.
We're going to move back to Vice President DeYoung with the next question.
The values of a leader are the foundation for decisions made and greatly influence the direction of an organization. This will also impact what our students are exposed to. In the last few years, districts have encountered unique challenges, such as CRT, critical race theory, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and COVID-19. In your capacity as a leader, how have you addressed these with your students, staff, and community?
In my last 2 positions, I would say I've come from a pretty diverse population. I've got experience with that. I think we have to look at all the things that go on throughout a year and not shy away from them, but talk to the students about it, talk to the staff about it, and when they need professional development or if they need some guidance, we give it to them. I think the biggest problem with all those things that you mentioned is that we're afraid to talk about it. So if we meet it head on and our staff is comfortable to talk to students about it in a good educational way, I think that's the best way to educate our kids, make them feel comfortable with the people around them, or the situations that they deal with, and we will move on. And we have to be their rock. We have to be the ones that are, you know what? They can't see us falter. We've got to be the ones that are staying true to form and doing what we say we're going to do and leading by example.
Was there any policies, procedures implemented as a result of those or changes to your curriculum?
In South Haven, no, there was nothing curricular changed, but we as a staff spoke about it, and my staff did put a lot of things in their lesson plans for it. And then what I also do as a building principal is I have roundtables. I don't know if I would do that as a superintendent. In fact, I would say I probably would not do that as a superintendent. I would be stepping on my building leadership's toes. But as a building leader, I have talks with my groups daily at lunch about things going on. I have roundtables every 4 to 6 weeks. We just have good talks about what's going on in the community, in the world, in our school. And that's not to say that it needs to be done here, but that's just what I do.
Great. That's a complex question.
Well, thanks.
There's a lot to it. Next up, we'll move back over to Ms. Martin, our secretary.
What vision or plan did you set in your past position, and did you succeed?
The vision we had in Waterville was making a difference one kid at a time. And I think we just have to realize that we can't bite off too much more than we can chew. If we can make a difference in one kid's life every single day, we're doing something. We're making it better. And so that's how we approach it. Every day we try and make a difference. If we do it one kid at a time, it's better than not doing it at all. So you mentioned vision, and we actually purposely changed our vision statement at Waterville to say just that, making a difference one kid at a time. And I think it comes down, a lot of people hate this, but it is customer service. It's understanding that kids have a voice, and when they talk, we have to listen. And it doesn't mean we always have to act upon it, but at least we're listening and they know they're being heard.
You felt that was successful?
I do. I think in all my stops, I think my staff has been happy. There's a balance of discipline and a balance of getting things done. And I want kids to feel comfortable walking into a building, knowing that they're cared for, but knowing that we're holding them to a higher standard. That also goes for our staff. I want them to know that they can come in and be themselves, yet we still hold them accountable for getting something done with their kids.
Great, thank you. Slide back over to Ms. Dalton Akers with another question.
What methods have you used to attract and retain top quality staff?
I think when you bring a staff member into a building, you let them meet the team, and it's again, this goes both ways. They're interviewing us just as much as we interview them. So I try not to hide anything. If it's a tough crew, this is a tough crew. If you got some big shoulders, come on in. Let's make this work. They need to know that I've got their back. So if they've got a parent harping on them, they know that I'm going to sit in that meeting with the parent and I'm going to support the teacher. That goes a long way, and I think that's the biggest thing in retaining staff. They just simply have to know that they have our support. I'd love to pay them more. I get that. But I think more than anything, if they've got support, they're going to stick around.
Thank you. You know, that's a hot button topic right now, attracting and retaining.
Without a doubt. I've spent more time in the classroom this year than I have in the past, honestly, the past 12.
Right. Back to Ms. Phillips for another question.
Tell us about your involvement in collective bargaining in general. And then tell us about your most recent contract issue in your district, your involvement in it, and any resolutions.
I've sat at the table a number of times in Water Elite. Again, my superintendent at the time led the process, but I sat at the table and we went over, obviously components of the collective bargaining agreement, and it's a give and take. And my experience has always been good. It has never been a yelling match. It's never been screaming at each other. It's acting like adults and justifying what we're going to accomplish. So the second part of that was, what was the second part? I'm sorry.
Tell us the most recent contract issue in your district, your involvement in it, and any resolutions.
Honestly, my last contract was in Water Elite. I have not done one in South Haven. I've been here 3 years. What I'm working on now is a calendar with our staff. But again, that's, you're kind of bound by the calendar, so I don't have any real strenuous contract negotiation stories right now. I can tell you about my wife and I, balancing our checkbook sometimes. That can become pretty heated.
Different
Yes,
type of
ma'am.
labor relations.
Yes, yes, it is.
Thank you. Move back over to Mr. Berza with another question.
All right, so rate yourself from strongest to weakest in the following 4 categories: finance, curriculum,
All right.
staff, administration, and
Mhm.
community.
Is there numbers or you just want strong or weak?
From strongest to weakest among those 4.
Gotcha. I'm going to say curriculum is my strongest, community, staff administration, and then finance would be my weakest.
Why?
I knew you were going to. All right. Well, finance, you've already heard a little bit about that. That is, I have gone many, many years of just rolling over budgets, and we live within those constraints. And I think we've done it pretty darn good. I try to have, obviously I split the year up into 4 quarters. And I talked to the teachers and the staff about this. You know what, at this point, I'd like to have this still in our bank in case we have to come back to it. Just recently in South Haven, we went to a zero-based budget where we started with nothing. And they said, you tell us what you need. It was difficult, but we went through the process. The staff didn't like it, but I shouldn't say that. It was challenging. I don't want to say the staff didn't like it. It was challenging. Maybe I didn't like it. Let me put it that way. It was challenging, but it was good. We saw exactly what we were buying. We saw exactly what we needed to spend on, and that's what we did. So that was a good one. So finance was the weakest. Then I went staff and administration. Honestly, I don't know why I put it that low, but I did simply because I've led a building before. I've led a team before. I think I've done pretty darn well at it, but I know when you go to a district, it's a whole different ballgame. I'm going to have to trust the people below me to do what I'm asking them to do. But but that's part of it. And then community, I put that under curriculum simply because, I should be the leader of the building, and I should be able to talk about curriculum. So I put that as my strongest. Honestly, I think curriculum and community are right there. I think I'm pretty darn good at both of them. I am a people person. I'm not afraid to hold babies. I'm not afraid to, I'm not afraid to talk to the difficult conversations. And and then of course curriculum. That's what we do. We've got to be able to talk curriculum. We've got to be able to vertically align so that when we start out with pre-K or kindergarten, when we get them to their senior year, it was a seamless transition. They started from point A and they got to point B. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
What have you done to improve school environment, and do you see this translating to the superintendency?
What I've done personally is I have my open door policy, and I also have meetings with my teachers so that we can, if we gotta put something on the table, again, I know I've said it a few times, but we're adults. If there's a problem, let's talk about it. If we don't talk about it, it's never gonna be fixed. So there's something to be said about sitting around the table and breaking bread and having some conversations that may not be had when I'm not sitting there. I do also believe in staff get-togethers as a superintendent. I don't know if I would do that, but I definitely think that's part of the culture of a building. As a building leader, it's good to get away from this and get to know your teachers outside of the building.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just let my board catch up. Let's move back to Mr. DeYoung for one last question here, and then we got another question and a closing statement. So,
Okay.
So in regards to student achievement, how would you raise standards and expectations in our district?
Well, I've looked at your scores. They're very similar to South Haven. Obviously, with the COVID stuff going on for the last couple of years, there has been learning loss, and this isn't going to be done overnight, but it is going to take some time to catch some students up. I think the biggest thing we do is we stick to our curriculum. We fill gaps as best we can. We utilize our parapros and our support staff. We make good use of our multi-tiered systems of support, which I did see in I believe in your strategic plan, you had that in there. That's what we do. We support our kids as best we can. What I also do as a principal, and again, I hate always coming back to me as a principal, but for me and some of my roundtables, I talk about test taking, and I actually pull up sample tests and the practice tests for the standardized tests, so that when these kids walk into a testing situation, they know what they're walking into. All these tests are, well, not all of them. Some of them are computer adaptive. Most of them are on computers. If kids are going onto a platform that they don't know how to use, then it doesn't matter if they can read or write or do math, they're going to struggle. So we need to teach them how to take their test, and we need to spend time doing that. I think the other part of that is we actually have to do something with the data. We do take a look at it, and we don't put our head in the sand. If we don't have the scores that we're happy with, we look in the mirror and we go back to work and we do what we say we're going to do. We change our plans, we look at our curriculum, we go back to vertical alignment, and we actually do something about it rather than just talk about it.
Great. Well, Mr. Allen, we appreciate your interest in becoming superintendent here. And so as we wrap up today, we have lots of time. The board understands they're in it for the long haul over tonight and Thursday night, so I think we've already ate dinner, so we're good there. And so we want to know what drew you to Gobles to apply, and what are any thoughts that you'd like to share with us beyond that?
Well, as I stated before, I like the size of Gobles. I grew up in a smaller town. I grew up north. To me, this is my style. I had a feeling that if I walked into this building, I would probably feel pretty comfortable in here. As for the superintendent position, when we graduate from college, we get our degree, and then we have to do our continuing ed. I never once thought I would be in administration, but I also never thought I was going to be a teacher. So I've been working, got my master's. Again, that light bulb comes on and you're ready for the next step. If I can lead a classroom, I want to lead a building. So that's what I did. I've led buildings now for 13 years, and I feel like the light bulb has gone on, maybe not in terms of finance, because I ranked it the weakest, but I feel like I'm ready for the next step. And I think Gobles would be a great place to do that.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate your time tonight. As the board is going to interview a number of candidates, if you're selected as a finalist, we will be in contact with you.
Sounds good.
And to the audience out there, please feel free to fill out a feedback form. They're on the back table. We are going to take an approximate 10-minute recess for you to do that. And then we're going to come back at 6:40. Thank you.
Good with me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I stole this from the computer lab, sorry. My pen did not work.
Wait, all right.